Hello, my name is Candace Mary Dofe, and I work at Stop Waste. And I'm a program manager, and I manage the Bambi program. And I just want to talk to you about the Bay Run program today. So the Bay Area we're fortunate to have multiple multifamily energy efficiency rebate programs, but that can get a little confusing to navigate. So what we did is we worked with the MUP team to kind of align our programs and make it easier and hopefully for raters to participate and kind of send a uniform message to the market. So I'm going to talk a little bit about what we've done to align. Also talk about eligibility for participating in the program, and then some updates. So we started this this what we're calling a rater pathway at the beginning of the year, but there will be some changes going into 2020, so I'll talk about that as well. Next slide, please. So folks in here familiar with the BayREN or Bambi program? Anyone not familiar with it? Okay, well, I'll give a little review anyway. So we are a energy efficiency program implementer, just like PG&E, but we're a collaboration of 9 county governments in the Bay Area, and we run ratepayer funded programs. Bambi is one of our programs, and we've been operating since 2013. We offer a flat rate of $750 per unit for projects that save between 10 and 19% with multiple measures. Next slide. Okay, so at the beginning of 2019, as I mentioned, we worked with MUP to align our incentives. We offer a $750 per unit flat rate, which is kind of beneficial. I think down in between 10 and 19%, and as you know, MUP offers an escalating rate, so the more you save, the higher the incentive. So right around 20%, it definitely makes sense to participate in the MUP program, and that's kind of where we aligned. So if you have a project that you anticipate will save less than 20%, you bring it to us. It's obviously up to the program participant. We're not forcing anyone to participate in one program or another, but this is the arrangement that we've worked out. Next slide, please. So just to talk a little bit about the role for the rater and the rater pathway of the Bambi program. So like I said, we've been running since 2013, and prior to 2019, we did not have a role for market raters. We had our own internal raters that did the technical assistance for our program. They were the Association for Energy Affordability and SFE, San Francisco Department of the Environment. But now we do accept raters that are participating raters in the MUP program to submit projects into our program. They do the upfront assessment and energy modeling. They submit the project, and we approve it for rebate reservation. At that point, the rater is eligible for an assessment incentive, and our incentive is about 50% of what MUP offers, and that's because you really only have to do half the work. After your rebate reservation is approved for the project, we take it home. So our internal MUP raters will do the closeout, internal Bambi raters will do the closeout. Any questions? Okay, next slide. So the participant does have the option of designating the rater as a primary participant on a project. Sometimes the rater kind of likes to be that central point of contact and take out all the guesswork for the participant, and that is an option. In order to do that, though, you do have to make sure the participant signs our terms and conditions form, which is kind of like our application, and designates you, the rater, as the primary contact. And this allows the rater to receive and respond to program correspondence, and then also have the authority to submit the rebate claim form. One thing to note is that the login for our portal, which is called Energy Orbit, does go to the participant. So you will have to make sure the participant forwards you the login information for the portal. And the rebate check, so the assessment incentive can be made directly to the rater, but the rebate check will go to the participant unless otherwise designated. Next slide. Okay, as I alluded to earlier, in order for a rater to be eligible to participate in a BANDI program, they must be a participating rater with the MUP program and be in good standing. Must also attend a BANDI program rater orientation, which is what I'm doing now. Don't necessarily have to do it in person. If you do, make sure you sign in so that we have you on file. This is being recorded right now, so if there are people from your organization that would like to submit a project using the rater pathway, all they will have to do is watch the video of this, which will be posted on our website. And then if you plan on utilizing Energy Pro Lite to submit projects, you do have to attend a training, which is also going to be happening here, obviously, and will be recorded as well and posted onto our website. Next slide, please. Okay, so not only are we aligning with incentive levels, we're also aligning with MUP on the process and what our standards for projects. So we want to make it as easy as possible. So generally speaking, what you submit for MUP is acceptable for our program as well, but I do just want to go through what it is that we expect from raters and project submission files. So the pre-installment assessment site visit, we have a combustion safety testing form that is actually the MUP form that we utilize as well. We do want to be able to do benchmarking on our projects, so we require a copy of the PG&E utility bill for each commodity supplied, testing photographs, just like for MUP. We have the same standards as well. Like I said, we accept Energy Pro Lite for modeling. We also do accept Energy Pro 5 non-res modeling. We have external, not all measures can be calculated. We have external supporting calculations that we can help you with as well. An assessment report, whatever you're submitting for MUP, is also eligible for our program. A scope of work ready for rebate reservation that is, between the 10 and 19% and has 3 or more measures in it. Our BANDI terms and conditions document, we have a rater version of that, which is also on our website, on our rater page, which Ben will be sharing with you later. And it's got to be signed by the owner. And then we also require a pre-construction conversation, which includes a representative of our program, the rater, and then the program participant prior to the start of construction. Not at all.
Just want to add to that, and we'll update this slide before posting it to the rater website. But if you are installing a measure that affects the domestic hot water recirculation, whether that's a new variable speed pump or some sort of control of Earth's temperature or demand control, and there are single lever shower valves, mixing valves at the site, you will have to submit a crossover test, and I can explain that more during my part of the presentation. Also, it's not required for the initial submission, but there's a checklist that will be shared through the website as well that I use to review projects. So it behooves you to use that checklist, go through it, make sure that you are providing everything requested in it, calculating the calculations in the way they're described in that checklist before making your initial submission. So just wanted to add that. Thanks, Candace.
Next slide, please. All right, I talked a little bit about qualifying scopes of work for our program. Projects must save between estimated 10 to 19%. And we have 2 pathways. So if it's saving 15% or more, the project must include 2 core measures and 1 additional or non-core measures. And core measures tend to be like more permanent or in-unit types of measures, and we have a list of that in our manual. And then we also have a 10% savings pathway, and those projects must include 3 or more core measures, or 2 core measures and 2 non-core measures. So those are the ways that you can qualify with your project, and they're listed out in our policies and procedures manual. Next slide, please. So I realize I probably didn't need this slide because I talked about this in a previous slide, but what Ben was talking about, in addition to all of the items, we also require a crossover test if applicable and then a QA checklist. And I think that'll also be on the website as well. Okay, so we can skip past this one. Oh, sure.
So Scott asked, is Energy Pro 7 non-res still approved? The slide mentioned only light or 5.
Ben, do you want to answer that?
Good question. It would be 5 or Energy Pro Light. So I know 7 is approved for the MUP program. We could consider it on a case-by-case basis for Bambio Bayred. In the past, we have not accepted that. So if you are submitting a project with 7, I would suggest converting that file over to Energy Pro 5, or more preferably EPL, which we'll obviously be leading you through later today. But you can contact me if you only have version 7 and cannot, for some reason, convert it over to either Energy Pro 5 or EPL. Thanks.
Okay, next slide, please. Okay, so I just wanted to go through the project review timeline, which we've tried to somewhat align with what MUP does. Upon a initial submission of a project, we have 14 days, that's not business days, days to review. After that, the rater has 10 days to respond to the comments, and then the program has 10 days to respond after resubmission, and we can keep repeating that, hopefully not too many times. However, for projects to be considered for payment in the same project year, they must be submitted by April 1st if the project has over 100 units, and May 1st if the project is less than 100 units. And then after the project is approved for reservation, the rater has 14 days to schedule that pre-construction call that I was referring to. And then we expect projects to be completed by October 31st for same year rebate payment. However, we can consider going beyond that on a case-by-case basis if there is room in our pipeline. And they'll just roll over to the next year. If they're not completed by then, that's just for same year rebate payment. Next slide, please. So we mentioned earlier that we will be paying out rater incentives, and that they're about 50% of what MUP pays out, and this is just a comparison. So our minimum is $1,250, $50 per unit, and our max is $10,000. And it's due to the property owner unless otherwise indicated on the terms and conditions form when the reservation deliverables are met and the project's been approved for rebate reservation. I do want to make clear that we cannot issue an assessment if the quality of the submission is such that our internal technical assistance team has to go on site. We just, that wouldn't be very cost effective. We unfortunately had that situation, so we had to make this clear. Any questions? Okay, next slide. We had a couple questions about electrification. We are a government program. We're very, very interested in reducing carbon. So it is something that we're thinking about. As Siobhan mentioned, we had a pilot last year. Actually, we're still running it right now. That was funded by the Air District. And we are trying to figure out how we can kind of roll out that pilot on a larger scale, especially given the fuel substitution test changes. So we want as much electrification as possible. However, because there is so much uncertainty right now, we're still trying to figure things out. Any projects that have electrification will have to go through our traditional pathway. So if there's a project that you're really, really interested in and the participant really wants to electrify, please do let us know and we can try to help you. We just can't take that project through the radar pathway. Any questions on that? Yes. Yes, so, thank you. That's your net carbon, and that's what we're calling our pilot right now, because we're hoping to look a bit at embodied carbon and refrigerants as well. No, you don't.
I was just going to add, I'm glad you asked that. Electrification, fuel substitution, you can think of those synonymously. Zero net carbon, kind of in the same realm. Zero net energy, maybe less so, but still in that realm. So I know the terminology can get a little confusing, but fuel substitution and electrification are basically the same thing.
Okay, next slide, please. Okay, these are just a couple FAQs that have come up. So first one, who pays for the project QA/QC work performed by AEA? There are internal technical assistance providers. The program pays for it. Obviously, we don't make the participant pay for that. Some scope eligibility differences between the two programs. If your scope includes lighting, recirculation controls, or programmable thermostats, please reach out to us and let us know early on, because there are a few minor differences there. Once the project has been referred to Bambi, the rater can remain involved if they'd like to. It's completely up to you. Just let us know. And then you cannot participate in both programs for the same project. All of our programs are funded by the same CPU source, and that's known as double dipping. So you cannot do that. However, Grace is here from MCE. They also have a energy efficiency program for their territory, and there is a way to kind of layer some of their incentives, because they have single measure incentives, onto the program. So if that's something you're interested in, we would probably have to take you through the traditional pathway, because it's a bit more complicated, but there's an opportunity to get some additional incentives